At Extra Foods, we care for you. That's why we always have the widest variety, the best prices, spacious aisles of total convenience, plus clean, safe surroundings. Let us care for you. Extra Foods, always extra for less.
Ronix Premium Quality.
A pleasant good evening to viewers. Welcome to Breaking Barriers. I am your temporary host, Nazem Ishmael, and with me here is none other than Mr. Richard Jagesa.
Hello, good night.
So this evening, we have so many things to talk about again. But first I want to just shout out two persons because I get in so many calls that are not calling out their names on TV. One is my nephew who lives all the way in Calgary. His name is Guru Marvin Ishmael. He asked me to give him a shout out. He left our shores many years ago, and he's making it big in Calgary, Canada with his dojo. So again, Marvin, congratulations to you and the family, and all the best. Also, a special shout out also to a gentleman who has been firstly with Inshan, and I met him on the grounds at Baraka grounds, Mr. Indar. I would like to personally thank Mr. Indar for all that he and his staff has been doing for us at the Baraka Foundation. You just have to call Mr. Indar on short notice, and no job is too big or too small, and he will reach there in a moment. So, Mr. Indar, to you and the guys out there, up to yesterday, they came and helped us offload a container here. And he is too willing to come and help us again when we have other containers. So I want to thank you very much for all you have been doing for us. And I will see you on the grounds, probably a show Friday, 12:30. Also, Mr. Moody and my brother Rafik, who normally comes here very early and, just hang around, keep us company, And whatsoever we have to do, we get it done. And you know, they go their separate ways. So I like to also thank them very much. They are an asset by just being there with us. Again, as I said, there are so many things to talk about. But I've been getting some requests that we have been bashing the government, you know, too much. This lovely government we have here, we have been bashing them too much. So tonight, we might probably go easy on them, especially the Prime Minister. We'll probably go easy on him because he seems to be doing nothing wrong. So, guys, we'll go with the first video with the Prime Minister. That's in Parliament. First day of Parliament.
It has come to my attention in some districts, some instances, police officers whose job it is to protect us and to secure us in some districts at night are so afraid of the criminals that they close the police station door, turn off the light, and be inside there hoping that the criminals don't come at them. That happens. Madam Speaker, it's not supposed to happen, but it happens. And Madam Speaker, the criminals come in front of the police station, choose it. I'm not speaking to you, I know you're happy with it. Madam Speaker, I'm speaking to you. Madam Speaker, when citizens identifying themselves as lawbreakers choose their place of attack to be in front of a major police station inside the city and to carry out an attack using the most sophisticated killing weapons, it tells you, Madam Speaker, that they have no regard for law enforcement in our society. And they benefit from the fact that the law is as protective of them as they are not as protective of us. We saw the outrage, Madam Speaker. We saw the outrage. And the population was equally outraged. But Madam Speaker, because this criminal element that's going on in our society is commercial enterprise, some of them attempting to hold territory, to claim districts, to label districts and to operate it as their fiefdom. They have to protect and then retaliate. So just as to be expected, when this outrage took place at the Besson Street police station, within a matter of hours, more murder and mayhem was planned and executed. And the next event was a shooting in Prisgaland, where 5 people were killed, 4 on the scene and 1 in the hospital. Or the other way around? But all them 5 dead. It's 4 on the scene and 1 in the hospital in one killing incident. And the weapon of choice, Madam Speaker, in these situations are assault weapons designed not to maim or to stop, but make sure to kill. High quality, high caliber weapons. So, Madam Speaker, it has come to my...
So the Prime Minister said that the police are locking some stations down, taking off the lights because they are afraid of the bandits, the criminals outside there. Now, I heard he use a statement there. He said a station in the city. That could either be referring to Besson Street Police Station or Central Police Station. Now, just imagine if this is true, because I heard other commentators said that yes, some districts do close their station in the night, but not for the reason that the Prime Minister is talking about. Because when you take the lights off in the police station, you will be able to actually see what is happening outside, rather than people seeing you through the amount of glass we have outside there, around the police station, that is. So, Mr. Prime Minister, And I think he was always also referring to that maybe when they take the lights off, the police might be sleeping. But we have some politicians here, we don't have to take the lights off and they just be sleeping. Let's just see the two politicians with the lights bright on their face and they're sleeping. Watch. The lights on. Mr. Prime, what? And the Prime Minister too. Always sleeping on the job, Mr. Lazy Man. Lazy man. So I don't know what this man does be talking about, you know. I honestly don't know what this man does be talking about. But again, I want to believe that all this is to sidetrack us again from what actually took place with the pulling of the straws and then the buffing at Balize House. Because a lot of people get buffed to change their votes. You could actually see Penelope Beckles, who is so, I mean, anytime any reporters come to her, she will talk. She left after the meeting. You could see she was really vexed. So these are things the Prime Minister will always throw out a red herring just to divert attention. He's very good at that. So let's see what will happen from there. And there is still so much infighting. But you see, unlike the UNC, the PNM keep very silent. But I know from sources that they don't really want Stuart Young there. But maybe, just maybe, I don't know, I'm just asking, just maybe the dragon gas has so much to do what is happening within the politics and the PNM in particular. They cannot have anybody else at the helm at this time but Stuart Young. Because on the news this evening, I think it's either 12 or 15 times he went to Venezuela and we did not know who he met with. Nobody knew who he met with, but his answer in Parliament was that the Venezuelan newspaper has the details. Well, Mr. Stuart Young, I don't read Venezuelan papers. I want to see it in our papers here. I want to see it in our local papers here. Who you met with, and at least we don't want to know the details of what the dragon gas is, but we want to know who you met with. Are you afraid that Trump is coming in office just now and it will have repercussions for you and Dr. Rowley? Are you afraid of that? Well, I guess we just have to wait and see. Richard, what's your take on that?
Well, you know, me and you just disagree plenty.
Sometimes.
We just fight real plenty.
Sometimes.
And you opened the show tonight by saying we're giving the PNM a break.
Well,
and I don't know how you could give them a break and them breaking up inside.
exactly.
I don't know how you could say we giving them a rest and them resting in Parliament. I don't know how you could say give them a chance and them picking Prime Minister like if it's lotto chance.
I'm telling you.
Them pulling names from a hat, all kind of thing to pick Stuart, boy.
And they getting buff up bad to change their vote.
Yeah, you know, like when they do something wrong, you know, your
like little children, boy.
Yeah, you know, somebody say the ones who leaving and going is the ones who can't stomach it anymore. The buff, the ball up, the get on.
No, but they wouldn't, you see, they will toe the line because, you know, the trimmings and everything that come with it. They don't mind the embarrassment.
Some of them, well, I am not one like that. I'm not a person like that at all. But I'm glad where you started tonight. You said Rowley went in Parliament and under protection of parliamentary privilege made statements against the TTPS officers. Said that they like to lock up in the building, take off the lights and so on because they're fearful. Well, let me see the headline. PM says fearful officers locking themselves in station from gangster. The Prime Minister says that. Look at that. Fearful police officers hiding in stations from criminals. If the police who have firearms, if the police who have vests, bulletproof vests, who trained in certain things, If the police fearful of criminals, well, who's we?
I'm telling you, we are the mercy of the criminal.
Who's we? Prime Minister makes reference in his speech about a shooting right in front of the Besson Street station. He does that. He confirms that there was a shooting. I think two died in front of the station. Shootout in front of the Besson Street station. Imagine that. So one of the points I wanted to get at tonight is that whether the state of emergency makes any sense, whether it's doing anything for anybody, or whether the criminals don't care and run rampant in today's society. And we have to admit that is what is going on. Criminals do not care about the state of emergency, and I'll point out some reasons why that may be in a minute. But what we have is, in a state of emergency, they gunned down a lawyer from the DPP's office after he gave a church sermon. They gunned down a lawyer and her husband in South Trinidad after a house breaking and entering. Yesterday, they killed Onella Parks on her way to work. Randall Hector, the lawyer I mentioned earlier. Jason Mohammed, a coconut vendor, died earlier. Guys, I sent you a photo of that. It looks like a corporation worker killed on way to work and coconut vendor gunned down. Just bring that up quickly, please, so they can see. They can see the lives being lost while there is a state of emergency in play. And it just goes to show, there we go, look at that. Woman killed on her way to work. That's Onella Parks. Mother of one was shot and killed yesterday morning, minutes after she left her home in Gonzales, east port of Spain, to go to work. Police said that around 6:30, Onella Parks, 33 years, young girl, was walking through Lover's Lane when she was not far away, when she was ambushed by gunmen who shot her multiple times. 6:30 in the morning, when people go into work. Let's scroll along a little bit. Let's scroll along. A coconut vendor shot dead. Grieving Mina Alet, grandmother of murder victim Jason Kevin Mohammed. Look at this. A penal coconut vendor who was warned against keeping bad company was gunned down on Sunday night. Jason Kevin Mohammed, also known as Ponson of Julian Trace, sustained gunshot wound on his back which exited his chest. Another man later identified as Mark White, 22, of Palmas, Barrackpore, was hospitalized with gunshot injuries. So one dead, one injured in hospital. Come back to me.
And as a matter of fact, a doubles rapper was killed today in Karapu by the racetrack, beaten to death.
That's exactly the point. People are dying. Officers are hiding, according to the Prime Minister. And the state of emergency is of no effect. The state of emergency is of no effect. Now, I like to touch on the law a little bit.
Yes.
So we have to ask ourselves, first of all, let's look at the reality of the situation. As you pointed out last week, the state of emergency came in the dead of night on social media first, before there was a formal announcement. And we are hearing now, confirmed that the state of emergency was called because the government, on information on certain sources, were told that there were going to be reprisal killings.
Correct.
There were going to be gang-related killings. So out of that fear, out of that need to protect gang members, they call a state of emergency. Not because the government of today wanted to protect young Jason Mohammed, the coconut vendor, not because they wanted to protect Onella Parks, not because they wanted to protect all of those who died in home invasions and so on, because they didn't want gangs killing gangs. Confirmed now. That is why they call the state of emergency. They didn't want gangs killing gangs. The state of emergency is to protect those. Not Jason Williams, not Onella Parks, not Randall Hector, not you, not Uncle Nazim, and certainly not myself. The state of emergency was called because they didn't want gang members killing gang members. Having said that, let me go on to say that it is now part of Hansard that they received information from reliable sources. My question today remains, as it has always been since this SOE came into force. The source of information, the person who has given them that information, has that person not qualified to be charged under the Anti-Gang Act? Has that person not given sufficient information for others to be charged under the Anti-Gang Act? The anti-gang legislation in its most recent incarnation, 2021, makes reference to gang members being any person conducting any activity being a gang-related activity. And the Act refers to a first schedule. It has an entire list of things that fall under what is the definition of gang-related activity. It has everything there. Everything. Murder, rape, thief in vehicles, involved in prostitution, brothels, everything. That list is long, 3 pages long. So if you're involved in any activity like that, 2 or more persons, you fit the definition of being a gang member. If you aid, abet, have information on and so on, you are a gang member. The wide definition for who can be a gang member, and if you're a gang member, you can be charged under the anti-gang legislation. Why is no one being charged under that law? If we have these sources that can inform the police so reliably of impending doom on the country, why aren't those sources giving names? Or are the sources giving names, but the names look too familiar? The names resemble somebody. Is it that? Is it that? So what we have are statements from the Commissioner of Police saying, well, things hard. It's difficult to get warrants. So give us SOE, so we no longer need warrants. That's what they told us, because warrant hard to get. Warrant hard to come by, to properly search your home, your vehicle, lay a charge, arrest. The SOE is because the Commissioner of Police said warrants had to come by. I don't know what law she's referring to. I don't know what she's looking at. I don't know what warrants she is trying to get and she can't get. But Section 16.1 of the anti-gang legislation says that those charges can be laid under that law without a warrant.
I was not going to ask you that because I heard that you don't need or a warrant once there's evidence that they suspect you to be gang members or affiliated with gang members. You don't need a warrant for that.
Correct. Now every offense, every criminal offense, you need evidence to lay a charge. So that's not a higher level or threshold than any other law. So let's say that to start. The second thing is, now that I've said that, now that 16.1 says that you can charge persons under the anti-gang legislation without a warrant, what about the Firearms Act? Offenses Against the Persons Act, Domestic Violence Act, all of those things you can charge people without warrant. Same reason Uncle Nazim has mentioned. As long as there is reasonable evidence, the suspicion, reasonable suspicion of an offense or sufficient information to conclude that an offense was just committed. That is the existing law, the existing legislation. So there is no reason for an SOE. Why do countries call SOEs? Well, let's start there. Now, we've had a few. 1995, 1970, 2011, and now this one. So we've had a few. Other countries, us in the past included, tend to call state of emergencies for public safety. And in this case, they didn't call it for public safety, they call it for gang safety. Right? Having said that, state of emergencies are generally called to allow police to have additional powers and exercise those powers in heightened ways. Increase patrols, increase raids, detaining individuals for longer periods of time, for example. And in this case, what we have is none of that taking place. We have police that continue to lack resources, no additional police vehicles. We have no detention centers to hold those that are being held, and I'll get to that in a minute. Our detention centers are not fit to hold those persons being held. We have we have, I said no vehicles. We mentioned last week that they have to buy their own bulletproof vests and so on. And we don't have unlimited resources. What we have is quite limited resources in terms of the staffing at police stations. I believe last year, the National Security Ministry said that they were going to hire 1,000 new recruits. Out of the 1,000, you know what came out in Parliament this week? They hired 100. 100.
And they say they're going to hire 300.
Yeah.
They're going to call in 300. But on that same point, Richard, during this SOE now, right? Don't you think that body cameras would have been so vital in the officer's work so that it could be used as evidence? Because, sometimes you have no video footage and it's hearsay, and police, at some point in time, you always hear they say, because of lack of evidence, the person got away.
Correct.
So what became of the 3,000 body cameras that we were supposed to get here?
Yeah, well, allegedly, the contract was given out and we have it. And since then to now, I myself, I've only ever seen one officer wearing a body camera. One officer. And I just go to court every day. Eh? So I don't know. I have no idea if it's being put to use or if it's packed up in a room somewhere. I don't know. I have no idea.
I think the body cameras didn't arrive here. If I recall, I think it's Sunday's Express. The body cameras, it have some issue with they're supposed to get a 75% down payment from the TTPS in order to purchase the cameras. And that was not forthcoming. And the cameras right now are in storage and they have to pay rent for it. So after all things being considered, next thing you know, the company who's supplying the body cam end up suing somebody because the camera is just sitting there.
That's possible. That's possible. And that brings us to the lack of resources. And it's because of those lack of resources that the criminal on the street laughing, that the criminal on the street, oh, they can't catch me. I outside. Imagine that. It is because you give a SOE because you can't get warrants. You ain't do nothing to help the police. Nothing, absolutely nothing. You don't equip them with any additional resources, but expect them to do a different job. You expect them to do a better job, somehow. And that is what causes everything to be so ineffective. Every Wednesday, there is a press conference held by the TTPS. Press conference boasts about 500 people being detained. 500 people being detained from successful raids. How are those raids successful? Let's say the prison raids, for example. You raid the prison Monday, you find 30 cell phones. You raid it Tuesday, you find 30 cell phones again. How are those raids useful? You raid it Wednesday, you find back 30 cell phones. It was 30 or 300.
I didn't really follow up that story. Sorry about that.
And it shows that you are ill-equipped to properly execute a state of emergency. You just call it for calling its sake. You call it to protect the gangs. You call it because you can't get a warrant. That's what you call it for. You didn't call it because you use your brain. You didn't call it because you had the resources and capabilities and the wherewithal to see it through. You call it for nonsense. You call it on dotishness. So the raids are ineffective. All the arrests of persons are also ineffective because, in all honesty, and we have to wait months to see it come to fruition, but out of those detentions, there's going to be arrests. Out of those arrests, there are going to be charges. Out of those charges, we'll see how many are successful. And it's a very, 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 very small number will be successful. All right? And that is what I mean when I say it is ineffective. And now let's get to the point with the detention centers being ill-equipped. So the first thing is the 2 detention centers are unfit for the state of emergency. Now this is according to the Prison Officers Association and I think somebody from the police service. Of course, now this was what papers was this? This was Monday's papers, I think it was. Yes, Monday's papers. And I think it was in today's papers, if not yesterday's, where, yesterday's, where Hines said that is a lie. They are indeed able to hold people and all that. Well, forgive me if I don't believe everything Imbert says. Yes, Hines assures, there we go, Tuesday's papers, Guardian. Hines assures SOE detention center fit for use. Forgive me if I don't believe everything Hines says, considering that his own cabinet has decided that they don't want him around. He is out the door, considering that his own constituency has determined that they don't want him and he is out the door. Forgive me if I do not believe everything Hines says. You know, and as I mentioned in Hines, there's an article here somewhere where he says, report strangers in your area.
Yes, I hear.
He says report strangers in the area. Now, he's a man, went in his constituency and they dashed water on him.
They didn't dash water on him.
What did they do? Give him a bath?
They dashed sewer water on him.
Right. Now, those individuals, those constituents, I heard that what I was really going to do was call to say there's a stranger in the area because first time they see he.
Exactly so.
First time they see he. So it shows how ill-equipped this government is and how they are not ready and so on. And the truth of the matter is, oh look, I just got some information. It says 25 million contract awarded by the TTPS since last September to local company Diamond Systems and Supplies Limited for 3,000 body cams for police officers seems to be stuck. So you might be correct. You might be correct. During the break, I will open the article and have a look at it and read it. Let me see here. Commissioner of Police Earl Christopher Gibbs approved the contract more than 4 months ago, as exclusively reported by Express. Diamond Systems' request for 70%, he was right. Down payment as stipulated in the contract has not been met, despite multiple letters sent to the TTPS over the last 3 months and obtained by the Sunday Express. Sources familiar with the company and the contract confirmed that Diamond Systems Director Hashim Mohammed's 3 letters to Earl Christopher Commissioner. I'll have to open the article to take a look at the rest of it. But you see, that is correct. That is correct.
But
so lack of resources.
You should scroll down a little further down and see the storage fees.
The storage
in
fees.
US.
I have to open it during the break and take a look at it.
US.
You have the whole country seeing how old I really am.
Don't worry. That is okay.
Right. So it's the lack of resources that has proven and shown this SOE to be a failure and on track to continue to be a failure. Guys, I sent you this. The heading is Rowley. There we go. So I'm going to read a short excerpt from it, starting with the heading there in bold you see on the bottom right hand of the screen there. PM amazed criminals getting bail in SOE. Seeing that there? Right. So I'm going to read a little excerpt there. Now, before I get to that, the Prime Minister said the police were saying that one of the problems they had was the speed of the revolving door where a person who is identified as having committed an offense can get back to his business as quickly as the ink can be dried. Quote, I don't want to talk about any specific instance here because it is all before the court, ... But I must say that even in the management of this situation where we get news of certain findings of the police, certain threats identified by persons who have in fact chosen law breaking, I am amazed that in a state of emergency, bail is still so easily available to people who are in fact the problem in this violent criminal society, in this crime wave, end quote, the Prime Minister said. Come back to me for a second. Imagine he saying that. He is the Prime Minister. He called the state of emergency. He deemed a next man to be Prime Minister in waiting. He controls cabinet. He sits on the Security Council. He has all the powers that could possibly be stored on another person in our republic. And he says, boy, I shocked, I don't know what to do. I shocked. Them men and them getting bail right through. I don't know what to do. Imagine that.
And
that is a failure. That is the definition of a failure, definition of dotage as well, but a failure nevertheless.
And that is the man who talking about high-powered rifles that the criminals are using. How these high-powered rifles and other high-end guns coming into the country. Why did you talk about that?
Let me tell you what a real commissioner of police would do. A real commissioner of police will put a roadblock just outside the port. And as those containers leave the port, search every single one. Overturn every single one. I am sure no lawful, no clean hands businessman in this country will have problems if their container is packed up on the side of the road being searched for a little 20 minutes, 30 minutes. If it has something in those containers, a real commissioner of police will find it there and then. Not so?
Yeah, but we also have to remember, beside the containers, the porous borders. And I think most of the guns coming through the porous borders, they have so many entries. How many patrol boats do we have are actually functioning right now?
Your guess is as good as mine. You could probably count it on fingers and toes.
Probably all of them pack up because of lack of maintenance. At one time, diesel was a problem. So we are left with open borders and anything could come in, whether it be people who running from one country to the next, like Venezuela, and you don't know the amount of criminals coming here too.
Correct.
And the gangs here, they come in with the gangs, and the gangs is being built up now, and we have a different type of crime taking place because Trinidadians have a way they commit their crime. But when you see these gruesome murders, I don't believe Trinidadians doing that.
True.
I don't want to cast aspersions, as the case might be. But Trinidadians will come rob you, they will shoot you, they might beat you, but not use knife and cutlass like how we see now. So we have to be careful about that. And then I think Maduro was sworn in for another 6 years.
And I want to get to that. I want to get to that before we take a break. But guys, pull back up the same article we just looked at. Rowley chastised. There we go. Go to the heading. Imagine this is our entire parliamentary discussion. And Rowley chastises Kamala on murders. If I'm to blame for 5,000, you're to blame for 24, 30. What kind of stupid argument is that, boy? How dotish you could possibly be, boy? If you blame me for 5,000, well, I blame you for 24, 35. Well, look at those figures. Look at those figures. I mean, it's a dotish argument, but even if one were to look at it, 24, 35 versus 5,000, he has shame as a big man.
The man have no shame. You shouldn't even ask if he has shame.
Hey, you wanted to give the people a break. Like something break in your head. Maybe go back to the article. I'm not done. Scroll down, ever so gently. The heading, PM amazed criminals getting bail. There we go, I'm going to read from that paragraph. Rowley said when information reached the National Security Council that was involved in that war, in quotation, we're going to call in their associates as far as Tobago, as far as Cedros, Central Trinidad, Sandy Grande, San Fernando, for organized battle. The government decided to call a state of emergency. Just picture the scene where one of the targets of these gangs walking on the pavement that you're using, and they decide on that day that is where the murder will be committed. All of us, every single one of us, at risk, your child going to school, they shoot up the vehicle, end quote. He said, come back to me. First of all, let's see with that last paragraph. And just last week, the police shoot at a house line and shoot a boy.
Inside his house.
Inside his house? So what stupidness you telling me about just picture? I not to just picture it happened, I one. And two, just picture a scene where one of the targets of the gang walking on the pavement. What about Hunella? She was walking in Lover's Lane. Right? So what stupidness you talking about? You calling a state of emergency, imagining that these things would happen, and these things going on all now. That is one. And two, let's go back to the other paragraph. That was the point I was making earlier. The reason for the SOE is because they were fearful They were fearful that the war would break out and it would be associates from Cedros and Central and Grandy and South in organized battle. That's the purpose of the SOE. Right? And that brings us, you come back to me, and that brings us to now, where 15 days for the year has passed and 15 registered murders has also occurred. 15 for 15. 15 days, 15 murders. And it's not just regular murders, you know. It's murders of a DPP officer. It's murder of a woman going to work. It's murder of a husband and wife in their home. It's murder of a coconut vendor.
Doubles rapper.
It's murder of a doubles vendor.
Who is next?
Who is next? Who is next? And you want to stand up in parliament with your bald head and your scarf and say, if you blame me for 5,000, I blame you for 2435? That's stupidness you're talking about, boy. Stupid. You know, and I've dealt with so far the inability of this government to properly manage crime and the SOE and so on. But in a minute, we'll get into the legality or the illegality of the SOE in a minute. In a minute. Right after we take the first break?
Yes, sure.
After we take the first break.
The power. To shatter the strongest. Conquer the indestructible with Ronex's collection of angle grinders.
Attention all bakers, doubles vendors, and roti makers. Try our high-quality bromate-free, all-purpose, and whole wheat flour. Low price and conveniently packaged in 2 pounds, 2 kg, 10 kg, and 25 kg bags. For wholesale and retail prices, contact Shiklisho Limited at 665-3336 or 480-8715 or visit us at Warrenville, Canupia. Shiklisho Limited. Quality you can trust.
Ronex's premium quality.
Mitsu Air Limited, authorized Mitsubishi air conditioning dealer. No need to replace your air conditioning units ever so often. Split units, cassette, ductable, CTVIF systems, and much more. Mitsubishi Electric has long been powering industries and providing solutions for healthy living. Mitsu Air Limited boasts the industry's first 10-year warranty on all parts and labor. Inverter units are also available. Don't hear it, just feel it. Mitsu Air Limited, 246 Eastern Main Road, Barataria. Give us a call at 674-4000 or 675-4000 or email us at mitsu.limited@gmail.com.
For the everyday lowest prices on all grocery items, trust Low Cost Supermarket for the widest variety of quality products at low prices. Freshly picked fruits and vegetables, healthy products for your well-being, high quality meat cuts, and a warm and friendly service. Low Cost Supermarket, Sun and Main Road, Canupia.
Yeah, welcome back. With all the killings we had, so many people dying. You know, we forgot to mention the teenager that was killed in Diego Martin. Meters away from a police station.
Exactly my point.
I wonder what time of the day that was, because I don't know if the officers lock up the station and they're afraid to come out.
Exactly. Police, this SOE is ineffective. Criminals doing what they want, wherever they want, in front of the Besson Street police station, in front Diego Martin police station, all over the place.
16-year-old.
16-year-old boy.
And he, with a high-powered rifle too, eh?
Is it Atto?
Yeah, Atto, Hale, Atto, Besson. So you see, you could be anywhere. Anywhere. You could be a casualty.
All this police know what about doing is harassing you about your tint, talking on the phone, and so on. That's all.
But isn't it public knowledge? I mean, you from Central, but I sure you know where most of the criminals base. But you could guess and say, have ideas where the criminals base. Like I could safely say, Lavanti, Belmont, Enterprise. What other area? Those are 3 areas I could specifically call out and say, yes, there are criminals in those areas. So you telling me during the SOE, because I heard about that SOE, I think I told you that was on our last program, about 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock in the night before the SOE were called. A family member told me that we have a state of emergency, and I had to ask him how we know that.
Yeah.
And the next morning, I heard that. So you can imagine that was outside already.
Correct.
So criminals go on and hide. Who had to leave, leave. So they open the door for them to leave. Hide away all their weapons. So that is how this government is operate. So let's see who will be, I hope not, but let's see who will be the next casualty.
I hope it's nobody. Well, hopes can only get us so far, yeah?
So what next we moving on to?
So I wanted to touch on the ridiculousness of the SOE as it is drafted. So we have a SOE just sprung on us. It doesn't really have any teeth. It is useless in its administration, in its nature, in its very fabric. And still, in its uselessness, it seeks to mislead and misguide the population. What am I speaking about? Specifically, the gun amnesty clause that was so callously and casually inserted into the SOE regulations. Supposedly, when the regulations came into effect, it also permitted those who may have stumbled upon weaponry to hand over those items to the police without any penalty. Allegedly. Remember, the SOE came into effect by proclamation of the president. And then, lawyers across the country queried this amnesty issue, referring, of course, to the Constitution and to the Firearms Act, which specifically reserves that right. Gun protection laws, we call it. And the leader of the opposition, Kamala Prasad-Bisasa, raised it, I believe in Monday Night Forum, and then again in Parliament. Here we have a heading. Guys, you could bring it up. Kamala, why was gun amnesty put in SOE regulations? There we go. So she raised it in Parliament. This is Tuesday's papers. Opposition leader Kamala Prasad-Bisasa is still expressing grave concern about the continued existence of the gun amnesty clause in the SOE regulation, despite National Security Minister Hines saying it is not something government is pursuing. Prasad-Bisasa yesterday demanded that government explain why it was included in the regulation if it was not meant to be operationalized. You could come back to me. Goes on to quote section 11 and so on, which references the regulation. Now, you have to understand, the reason lawyers and other persons take issue with these kinds of clauses and don't take parliamentary comments, such as Hines' comment that it wasn't something being pursued, seriously, is because of this. In the last SOE, didn't they say in Parliament that after a certain time, no, not the SOE, the Public Health Ordinance, after a certain, you're allowed to be in your own house, in your own yard, in your private space, and not be charged with breaches of no mask wearing and so on. Yet there were so many people charged with taking out their garbage, washing their car, in their yard, in their space, in their personal space and so on. And there were persons being charged under that legislation. So in that context, we cannot take things they say seriously because they tell us one thing and do another. Right. Having said that, it is in that context and that backdrop that the leader of the opposition, Kamala Prasad-Bisesa, rightly raised the issue of the gun amnesty being misplaced in the SOE regulations. And let's be honest here, let's be truthful here. The response from the Attorney General was, well, it existed in previous SOE regulations, so that's how it made its way here. So you copy and paste. And it didn't address your mind to what is required for this state of emergency, what is required to make the public feel safe in these times, what is required for public safety in today's context. You just copy and paste. You know, if you were still in class, you get licks from the teacher for copying.
Yeah, well, you know the man just forget.
So the fact is, they wrongly place the gun, and it's still there. I think allegedly they say it's going to come out by Friday. But they mislead the public in so many ways. In so many ways. A recent example of this was the cap, the financial cap on your pension, where individuals applying for pension couldn't have 25,000?
Yes.
25,000 in their savings.
More than 25,000.
And if you did, you therefore were disqualified from receiving pension. That was also something raised by the opposition that had to be taken out from the legislation. Same thing here. And on that occasion, they said it was a public servant went and sneaky in the dead of night and insert. I wonder who inserted this gun amnesty. A public servant went in. A public servant, Stuart Hines, Prime Minister, a public servant went in and sneaky in this gun amnesty clause. You know, all they never wrong. You know, all they never do anything wrong. So a public servant is to blame for this one too. Justin, you said there was another slide on this issue. Bring it up, please. Right. Real Silk working on SOE. Hines. Government getting top legal advice. Toppers. Yeah. Come back to me. Real Silk. Let me ask you something. The Real Silk working on this. Put in that gun amnesty clause. The Real Silk working on this is the same people who let a gun amnesty clause copy and paste. The Real Silk working on this is the same people who can't answer to the Prime Minister why people getting bail on the SOE. The Real Silk working on this is the same people who can't help the Prime Minister solve crime. Look at him. Murders will continue. Murders won't end. The SOE is in place. Murders won't end. Well, ballhead, you know how long we say that? Anyway. So that's the Real Silk you're talking about? You're talking about the Real Silk working on SOE and gun amnesty clause sneaking its way into legislation that it ought not to appear in? What are you really talking about, boy?
Yeah, but how much are the Real Silk being paid? And who are the Real Silk? Shouldn't this be public knowledge?
It should be, yes. It should be. And I'm waiting for the Real Silk to come out and say something. I'm waiting for the Real Silk and them to have to go to court for years and cost the state millions, cost the taxpayers millions as they go to court. I'm waiting. And it is that kind of fundamentally flawed thinking is how we waste money doing nonsense, a pack of dotishness, where monies go and imagine, we're going to spend monies on silk to give advice on a gun amnesty that's not supposed to be there in the first place, and that money could have been better spent to buy body cameras.
They could have make the down payment, we get all the body cameras.
We could have made the down payment and get all the body cameras.
Proper bulletproof vests, because the ones we have here expire.
You maintain the vehicles to have more patrols instead of the 2 roadblock you're always having by Grand Bazaar.
I don't know. And it have something, no, well, when you finish this one, it have something, it just came across my mind. I'll raise that after.
And at the end of the day, this is the nonsense. This is the ridiculousness and why I say that this government is ill-equipped or simply does not care. After, this is their 10th year in office. 10th year in office, they feel so confident. They feel so confident that they can just pass the hat from one head to the next. From one dotish duncy head to the next. They're so confident, right? That they watch us in our face and say we're doing a poor job and relieving the Minister of National Security. Police officers sleeping. We're doing nothing different. But I'll go home at 47%. I'll give only 4% and less. I could go home at 47%. UE lecturers.
As a matter of fact,
nothing for them.
I think tonight news students didn't get their marks because
Correct.
of the impasse.
Correct. And wasn't it last year? Was it September or November? The Prime Minister told Imber to take a more active role in settling those negotiations.
He did settle the pilots quickly. I think the pilot got what they asked for, and that was settled. So let's wait and see how this will go with the students and their marks and how they're going to move up with their tertiary education.
Correct. So while this failure of our government walks home with 47% increase, millions of dollars in back pay, $1 million in back pay, no money, for no raises for the police, for the prisons officers, nothing for the army men.
Public servants.
Nothing for, yes.
Public servants didn't ensign as yet. They did refuse the 4%.
Nothing for the fire service officers.
Right.
You know, the men and women that put their lives out at risk. Instead, the man stand up in parliament and say, oh, you're closing on the door, taking up the light. I don't know, he know that. I don't know it's the last time he went in a police station. Anyway, so when we open the phone lines, I want to hear your thoughts on whether you all believe this SOE has any effect. It really is doing anything to increase public safety. Public safety.
Before we go to the lines, Richard, after Chase Village flyover, where they're doing the repairs on the highway.
Yes.
The 3 lanes. Is that extension stopping at Chase Village and not going further?
Your guess is as good as mine.
Because I saw something going ahead there where they put in new brand railing after Chase Village flyover.
Right.
They're putting it very close. I guarantee you that highway extension is going to expand and all those railings will have to be removed. All those railings, new railings. So that is something a reporter should probably ask Mr. Sinanan. That is a question for the Minister of Works.
I see he drive off. I don't know if it was the Balize house or what meeting he was driving off from. I see he driving off, and in that car like it could go underwater, on top the water, all kind of thing, you know.
That is the man who talk about stability, boy. The man say, when they asked him a question, when he was going to Balize house, he said that is stability, and he pointed.
That interview.
And he pointed at the construction of Balize house.
Yeah.
Stability in what? Where the monies came for that building?
Correct. The detention centers.
The
detention centers not capable of housing detainees, but Balize house recently renovated.
And still going on.
Right. Well, maybe they want to hold the detainees in Balize house.
Yeah, but
they will feel so at home there.
But then again, it has some of them who already have space inside there.
Correct. To have some of them.
I ain't calling no names.
Yeah.
But I think a reporter should ask the Minister of Works about that railing after Chase Village flyover, because I passed there Sunday and I said, wait a man, why are they putting up these railings and this highway have to be extended? So let's just wait and see.
Correct. And unless there's anything further, I think that brings me to the end today of the SOE discussion, but there's one other issue I wanted to raise, separate from the SOE. There's anything else on the SOE you wanted to touch on?
No, I'm all right. While the callers calling, we could expand
their points and so on. Yeah, of course. The other issue, and guys, you have the clip on it. Munilal queries young Venezuelan trips. This recently came to light, and I think it is relevant because this is the person going to be our prime minister. Even though we've never voted for him to be prime minister, he's about to become prime minister. Munilal queries Young's Venezuelan trips. UNC MP Dr. Rudal Munilal has called for all of the details on several trips made by Energy Minister Stuart Young to Venezuela between 2022 and 2024. Now, he asked for this in September of 2024. We're now getting bits of the information. Munilal claims at an estimate of 1.2 million. Last night's UNC meeting in Debe, he said he had finally received information regarding the trips on which he had filed a query last October. Sorry, I said September. Munilal said the reply was circulated at Monday's parliament sitting. The question involved Young's official travel to Venezuela from April 2021 to July 2024, including a breakdown of the following, and he gives a breakdown. Now, let's go to the meat of the matter. The meat of the matter is located here. Munilal queried a February 14 to 15 trip, so a 2-day trip, which he said was on Valentine's Day with a $62,000 cost. He cited a 2-day meeting for a team costing $125,000 and others. He said the answers don't properly account. He added the answers were facetious and spoke of a lack of transparency. So 1.2 million, and then I go now to the Express that has a better breakdown. The trips accompanying officials and total cost of $1,237,746. August 2022, Commander Jasper, interpreter Ramsaran, and cost 32,000 and change. 2nd of February, Commander Jasper and interpreter Ramsaran and Minister of Energy, almost 41,000, $40,961. February 22nd to 23rd, same team again. They travel for 54,117 and so on. So 13 trips. So the breakdown is here. 13 trips, the last one being June 16th, the last noted one, not the last trip that they made, being June 16th to 19, 2024, the interpreter, well, it has interpreter alone, I'm not sure if that means she alone went, Candace Ramsaran, cost $84,132.20, totaling $1.2 million for 13 trips in a short period of time. And the question that has arisen out of these trips, the question that has arisen, which has recently been raised, and you were touching on it earlier, who did our future Prime Minister meet with in Venezuela? Who did he meet with? What was discussed? And I mean, it's already at a cost of 1.2 million, but a serious concern arises because Trump has said when he becomes president, when he's sworn in officially in January, he's going to put sanctions on any country doing business with Venezuela. At the lowest, taking this at the lowest, does this mean that we will fall within that realm of sanctions? Does this mean that we are putting ourselves in a bad place with the US? Does this mean that we are going to be blacklisted? These 13 trips and who were in the meetings and what was discussed and so on, at its lowest, according to Young, is involving 2 oil and gas deals. Does that mean that we will be trading with Venezuela in a way, in a manner that will make us run afoul, run ill of the US? Serious, serious, serious questions. And men are standing in parliament and playing smart with foolishness.
Well, boy, the only good news I probably have to really say is the ceasefire in Gaza. You know, they're having a ceasefire in Gaza, and I think by Sunday we should know exactly what is taking place with that, with humanitarian aids, and if Israel will continue to block them, and you know all that. So, and then there is a tug of war also. The politics just have to come in there, because the reporter asked, I was watching the interview, and the reporter asked Biden if this is a consequence of the new president being sworn in.
Yeah.
And he spin around and he talk like Rowley. He says, is that a joke? And he go on, all these kind of things. The politics is coming in because Trump did make it clear that once he is sworn in and the hostages wasn't released, I don't want to misquote him, but I think he said all hell will break loose. So it was fast-tracked, and thank God that innocent lives will at least no longer be lost, especially women and children and hospitals, schools, and people could get back to their lives as normal citizens. It will take some doing, but I want to wish and hope that the Palestine people, recover quickly from this debacle and move on with their lives.
I agree with you. I agree with you totally. I hope so as well. I think we could go to our second break, and then when we come back, we can open up the phone lines.
Sure.
So guys, get your cell phones ready. We're going to go to our break, and when we come back, we'll be taking some calls.
The power. To shatter the strongest. Conquer the indestructible with Ronex's collection of angle grinders.
Attention all bakers, doubles vendors, and roti makers. Try our high-quality bromate-free, all-purpose, and whole wheat flour. Low price and conveniently packaged in 2 pounds, 2 kg, 10 kg, and 25 kg bags. For wholesale and retail prices, contact Shiklisho Limited at 665-3336 or 480-8715 or visit us at Warrenville, Canoopia. Shiklisho Limited, quality you can trust.
Ronex's premium quality.
Mitsu Air Limited, authorized Mitsubishi air conditioning dealer. No need to replace your air conditioning units ever so often. Split units, cassette, ductable, CTVIF systems, and much more. Mitsubishi Electric has long been powering industries and providing solutions for healthy living. Mitsu Air Limited boasts the industry's first 10-year warranty on all parts and labor. Inverter units are also available. Don't hear it, just feel it. Mitsu Air Limited, 246 Eastern Main Road, Barataria. Give us a call at 674-4000 or 675-4000 or email us at mitsu.limited@gmail.com.
Good night, everyone. Welcome back to this episode of Breaking Barriers. Like we said, I am your host. I'm your co-host, Richard Jagasa, and this is Uncle Nazim, and we're holding on for Brother Inshan Ishmael, who is currently in Florida. Miami. There we go. So there's a Taylor Swift concert in Florida. He taken in.
Well, I'm not sure about that.
Front row.
But that I think that would be a problem.
You can never imagine it. Dressed in all pink, Taylor Swift.
Go on, man.
Yeah. So good night, everyone. Once again, our lines are open, and there we go. You can call us on 663-8373 or 645-4426. Remember to turn down the audio on your television set and speak to us on your cell phone.
Justin, if we could do the ad for the Ramadan Flea Market Expo that we'll be having from the 21st to the 23rd. Yes, folks. Ramadan Flea Market, Barker Grong Shogwanas. You can book now. You can call the numbers on your screen, 663-4762, 662-6403, 475-2230. Limited spaces are available, so you can call these numbers and book your space before all is taken. All right, we have a caller on the line. Good evening, caller.
Good night, Nazim and Richard.
Hello, good evening.
Yeah, good night, Nazim and Richard.
Yes,
Good
sir.
night, good night, caller.
Good night, man.
Okay, Richard, I have a question for you. It's a little out of the way topic you're on. I want to find, I'm from Arangwes. I want to find out in Arangwes, we have a lot of rental apartments in the garden area now. And a lot of the landlords renting a lot of illegal people, Spanish, and even some shady characters. Is there any law stating where the police could get the landlord to give information on these people by harboring them?
Uncle Nazim.
That is your field.
Uncle Nazim.
That is the law.
Tell it to
I
talk to
out
your
to
people.
that.
Tell it to talk to your people. Tell it to talk to your people.
I somehow I recognize his voice. Eh? So
Somehow?
I think he...
Call me now. Call me. Call me. You take the next call. Call me now, man.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening, Nazim and Richard. I have
Yeah,
a
good.
question that I want the government to answer, the ministers. What's point of the incident with the 4 divers related to Venezuela crude bunkering? I want that to be asked in Parliament. Thank you very much, and have a good night.
That question sounds like it come from a place with source and information.
Yes,
It's a valuable question.
Probably,
It's a valuable question.
you have to get in contact with the opposition leader and somehow see if she could ask that in Parliament, maybe to the Minister of Energy at the time.
Yeah, where he said he calling from?
I didn't...
He said point up here?
Well, probably he has information that we don't have. So, hello, good evening, caller. Good evening, caller. Hello.
Yeah, good night.
Yeah, good evening, sir.
Yeah, live on IBM.
Yes, you're live. Go ahead.
Okay. What happened now? You see, like the police and them, I find they should paint all them people and them. They should not no plain clothes. So got more police got to see them. When you see it have more unmarked cars, so when people see a car, they go feel a little safe when they see my police. You understand?
Okay, all right.
Yeah, go ahead, caller.
Disconnect. Yeah. All right. Well, that's your opinion.
We need to raise the volume a little, Justin. We hearing it a little soft in the studio here.
Yeah. Nothing is wrong with having police officers on patrol in marked vehicles. Whatever happened to the highway patrol that was put in place in 2013? The highway vehicles.
Yes. All that was disbanded.
All that was nonsense.
Hello. Good evening, caller. Hello.
Yeah, fellas, good night. Nazim, Richard, good night.
Yeah, good night,
Good night, Charlieville.
Yeah. Here it is, right? I was looking at the recent developments that are going on in the country, in the PNM party organizing by Watchmen. I'm real disappointed for Beckles, boy, Penelope Beckles, boy.
I'm telling you, boy, I'm telling you.
Because let me tell you something, eh? She had a good team behind she were advancing, but you see greed, boy, and money is what has changed people's mind, you know. And let me tell you, I'm real disappointed that they bypassed she for the leader of the PNM because she real fight it in the beginning, eh? When they had the internal election, she real fight it. And to put this man there, this man has so much skeletons in the closet, and you're only going to handpick this man, right, to put he or the successor, right? That man had to recuse himself over 100 times from family getting state contracts. People not seeing all these things, right? People not seeing the man stepped out and hold a whole trunk full of drugs. And where she gone? She disappeared from Trinidad? I don't know, and I just asking questions here, you know. it's too much allegations, too much things the man have over his head to put he there. But then again too, if they're close with Maduro and Chavez handpicked Maduro to run Venezuela.
Right.
Right. And look what happened to Venezuela. So you think Trinidad will not get any better? Trinidad walking that same road in a partner.
Well, you had to remember, you also have to remember, it looked like one of the criteria for you to be leader of the PNM and eventually come Prime Minister, you have to be a bully. We have the present Prime Minister who everyone knows likes to bully you. And it is also alleged that Stuart Young was a bully at school. So from one to the next.
I just trying to figure out how it is people could sit down and let this man take over. So we are heading no way in no better direction under this man's leadership. Because he was on that Rowley's shoulder for the last 7-8 years, learning everything from Rowley, you know. So everything would not remain the same exact way, you know. And before I go, fellas, this whole thing where Rowley talking concerning police officers taking off the lights and locking the door and hiding in station. He don't know nothing about security and things, right? You never notice when you watch from a glass building. Once the light on inside, everybody on the outside can see inside.
Exactly.
Inside cannot see outside.
Right, exactly.
He ever noticed that? And he is a big man, as the head of the National Security Council, should be ashamed to go in that parliament and say something like that. You think something so ridiculous for a prime minister, right? But say what?
But you know what make it even worse? The amount of people supporting this man with that noticiousness.
but wait, what he trying to say is, you as the head of the National Security Council, right? You didn't have one Minister of National Security, you have two. And all they can't get crime under control, you had to come outside the parliament and talk that rubbish about the police. And then you expect the police to go there and lock up men, running men out without a warrant in a SOE and give out their full support to the government. But if I was them police, I might have to stay home by telling all that. Because, you see, for me to go there and be putting my life at risk, and you don't even have a good bulletproof vest, when you go and you shoot somebody, they want to put you in jail. You understand what I'm saying? Nobody's standing up here. So where's the point you're going out there and giving your all, but that ain't making no sense. It's not making no sense. This country is a real joke, you know. And trust what I'm telling you, if they think it's bad, no, or they will see on that Stuart Young leadership. What going on? I just real disappointed that Penelope Beckers gets sidetracked and they put this idiot there to run the country now. And watch me, we go reach where we going. You see how the idea when election calls? We go reach where we going, fellas. Anyway,
right.
I'll enjoy the night, you know.
Yeah, okay, cool, man.
Yeah. Now, that we talking politics now, you see what is going to happen for the next couple of months when Stuart Young becomes vested as the Prime Minister is he's going to change cabinet. There's going to be a whole PR push behind them now. So all of the mistakes of the PNM for the last 9 years, all of the blunders, the issues, they're going to just paint that with Rowley. So he becomes the bad guy. All right, fine, that Rowley, he go and figure he knew. They're going to call Stuart Young knew. The truth is, as the caller correctly pointed out, he was there the entire 9 years. Hand to foot to mouth, like Rowley's shadow. He was there right through. He was the minister of everything, is the minister of everything. A junior minister in the office of the prime minister. So every blunder of the PNM administration for the last 9 years, every mistake, every faulty piece of legislation, every bad cabinet decision, he has been part and parcel, if not a large gear in that exercise. So it cannot be that people forget it and have goldfish memory. It cannot be that people just accept the PR push, because there's going to be, he might change up cabinet a little bit, bring in some people to the Senate, and then campaign as though, well, this is my team. He got free 6 months, you know. He got like an OJT. But he got trial.
You have to remember too, who are the king and the chess, who are the pawns. And we have the financiers who calling the shots.
Yeah, and another way to look at it is this is really Rowley's third term, you know, because he handpicked Stuart. So he will always have a vested interest. He will always have overarching, ostensible authority over what happens. So he will really be, even though he's not there in picture, he's not there in form, he's not there in his short sleeve shirt buffing up everybody from the Tobago condos, he will really be the voice behind this puppet. He will really be the person pulling the strings. That's the truth of it.
We really heading for dangerous times. And maybe what happened fall when I'm in the opposition's favor. Because I personally think if Penelope was given the position, it would have been easy sailing. But with small pain there. And there are a lot of supporters. But because how the politics is played in this country, we are so polarized.
Yes.
And we vote according to racial lines. They will bite the bullet and support the party, forget Stuart.
Yeah.
But you see,
so sad.
I just always remember 1981, when Eric Williams died. We had two deputy political leaders, Kamal Mohammed and Errol Mahabir. But they couldn't fit for the position because at that time, you couldn't lead the PNM as an Indian. So they say now the PNM has changed, but as far as I see, nothing has changed. It's the same way. It's just Stuart Young was forced upon them.
Yeah.
He was forced upon them and had no choice because big financiers speak. And when the financiers speak, you have to listen.
And you have to ask yourself, remember it was 11 for Stuart, 9 for Penny, right?
Yeah.
And 2, if not 3, of the 11 that vote for Stuart really not supposed to be there.
Right.
Right, them on the way out. Right. Poor Penny. Penny get bulldozed. Right? And then you have to ask yourself, so Penny really has 9 supporters. You have to ask yourself, what was promised? What agreements were met? What happened in Balize House? Who get buff? Who get promised things? Who get lied to? Whatever the case is.
A lot of trading took place there. But in politics, as Mr. Pandey said, it has a morality of its own.
And perhaps trading from the public purse, eh?
All that too.
Guys, our phone lines are open, 663-8373 and 645-4426. Remember to turn down the audio on your television set and speak to us through your phone. Oh, here we go. We have a caller on the line. Good night, caller. Where are you calling from?
Yes, Mr. Jefferson, from Port of Spain.
Yes.
I would like to find out, please, in law, is there any way that you could stop the PNM from selling patrician, if it go through some selling patrician?
That's another very good point. In today's papers, in today's news, I heard that they are going to finalize the sale. They're pushing to finalize the sale to some
by February.
By February this year.
Yeah.
Why all of a sudden the rush?
Yeah, that is it. So I would like to know from you in law, is there something that could prevent them, could stop them from doing that?
Thank you, caller. So remember, there were cases filed. I think the union had a bid to be considered as one of the purchasers and so on. So whatever action that they've started and concluded, those were the causes of action and the way to.
We'll probably have to wait until a bidder is approved, and then we'll see what
can be done, if
action
anything.
might be taken.
Yeah, but my inquiry is simply this. All of a sudden, you're rushing the sale. You have all of these meetings in Venezuela for oil and gas. You're rushing the sale of Petrochin to who knows which company. We're so entangled in this Dragon gas deal, which is going to name us in oil and gas dealings with Venezuela. And all of a sudden, you're rushing to sell Petrochin all the time, all the years. You wasn't doing that.
Well, they will probably say that they were going to sell it to Jinlal, the guy
from India,
and the opposition stop them, they could probably say all that. It would have been sold already.
Anybody could say what they want, you know. Somebody lying and somebody telling the truth. I think we have time for one more caller before closing comments. 663-8373 or 645-4426. Remember to turn down the audio volume on your television set and speak to us through your cell phone. In the meantime, we're in a bad place, eh?
Very bad place. Very, very bad place. And it's not going to get better. The issue with the detention center, that is still in Arima.
Well, they're saying it have 2 detention centers, one being Carrera, ironically,
right,
and
one in Santa Rosa.
You're right.
I remember they had one in Santa Rosa where the assembly plant used to be there.
And the logistics of the Carrera one, I'll take that one first. The logistics really have to be questioned because we're gonna do when the day reach and you have to transport people to and from court.
Well, maybe somebody have a ferry and they want to just or a barge, and they want to use it to fatten their supporters.
Yeah. So it's Carrera Convict Prison or the Remand Prison in Golden Grove. That's the 2 they're talking about. That's the 2. The Carrera Convict Prison is a convict prison for a reason. It is a unique prison that is surrounded by water and it has unique challenges and it makes it unfit for detainees to be there. Officers have issues with the conditions of the dormitory, which has almost collapsed, and the vessel that we use is in need of urgent repairs. It should have been dry docked approximately 2 years ago. So the transport to and from the prison is an issue. That's what he's saying. The conditions are deplorable. Now, what that means is not that they want the prisoners to be living like if they're living in a hotel or a motel. What they mean is that the prisoners might very well escape. The conditions are so deplorable that the prisoners might be able to wiggle their way out of the prison cell and depart from the prison. So this is absolute nonsense, and that's the point I was raising earlier when I said, you know, Hines, forgive me if I don't believe you, but how we could hold detainees arrested on a SOE that, you know, may file certain urgent actions, may get bail, may need to see their lawyers, their families, and so on. How you hold them in Carrera? You have no boat to transport them. You have no facilities for video conferencing. You have no facilities for teleconferencing. The officer is making an accurate point. That facility is used for convicts for a reason. After you've exhausted all of your legal avenues and appeals and so on, and you've been found guilty, go to Carrera. After we drop you off, we don't need to bother to get a boat to bring you back. You know?
Oh yes, boy. Time sure flies, Richard. You know what is the time now? We are almost through.
Almost through. Yeah.
So
that's the 2 detention centers that you asked about. But the point I wanted to make was this. We're in a bad place because we have a government who just woke up one morning and says, I am going to call our SOE and do nothing else. I'm not going to equip the not going to draft the legislation in an appropriate way or address my mind to what is really needed in today's society. I'm just going to call an SOE just because I can. In an election year, I might add, in an election year, call an SOE and say, let's figure it out. And then go in Parliament and complain. And go in Parliament and complain that, oh God, I call a SOE and the murder is still going on. Oh God, I call a SOE and police shoot out in front police station, in front Besson Street station. Shoot out in front Dego Martin police station. Ato died there. People dying 6:30 in the morning on their way to work. People dying in their homes. Lawyers dying after giving sermons in church. And poor me, I'm Prime Minister. And everybody blaming me for everything. And well, if you blame me for 5,000 murders, I blame you for the water in the pipe running wrong. So dotish, so stupid.
And as you talk about water, I think they say water restrictions might be coming soon. So you can't wash a Mercedes with hose again, eh?
I just drive a Zabuka.
Oh. So you might hear that announcement coming shortly, because I don't think all the dams were, and in fact not all the dams, the bigger dams were not to full capacity. So if we don't have rainy dry season, we might be in for some water problems.
Yeah.
So buy an extra tank, or maybe 2, I could see if I get it full for you. I know somebody have water truck in. You don't have to pay for the water, you just have to pay for the transport. Right?
Yeah, thank you so much for that. So you want to make closing comments?
Well, I would, what you could say again to convince people that we are in a cesspool right now. And somehow we have to elevate ourselves and get rid of this government we have right now, because yes, we're moving away from one leader and going to our next one, but they are both cut with the same cloth.
Correct. And one trend under the next.
Exactly. So one is keeping one secret, and he has learned maybe all the bad habits of this leader. So he is going to now transcend that onto the population. Rowley did it for some amount of 9 years, and the population lap it up. So he will probably believe, well, hey, you see these people here? I just had to buff them up, and everything will be nice.
Yeah.
They just need to get buff up. So let me watch and see what will happen from here, maybe in the next couple of months, and we'll come back and talk about it.
Absolutely ridiculous. So we have an SOE for 3 months. I think that brings us to what, the 29th of March? And then we'll see if it extends again. We don't know. I hope not. I don't see the value in it. It's not doing anything different. So at the end of the day, I think in addition to focusing on this, we also have to focus on these Venezuelan trips and really take those seriously. The crime rate is something we can never get rid of. Wasn't it just last year, budget they allocated $100 million?
Yes, to soldiers.
For what? Where's that?
Well,
where's that? It didn't go into the body cameras.
That just died and nobody asked questions.
Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. So, guys, it has been wonderful co-hosting with Uncle Nazim once again on this episode of Breaking Barriers. Hope you enjoyed it. Find us again next week, Wednesday. And feel free to let us know your comments on the Breaking Barriers Facebook page and YouTube account. Let us know what topics you think we should discuss, and let us know your thoughts on current events in the country. Take care, thank you, and see you again next week.
Good night.